Hi and welcome back to a boat called Wanda. Well, it's been a long time between drinks. I think the last video I did was too many months ago, but basically I had well over 45 hours of unedited video footage to go through. That was some time ago, and unfortunately I didn't back it up and I lost all of that material, and that sort of set me back a little bit. So yeah, it's been a while, but I've been working away on Wanda, so let's get you up to speed in terms of where I'm at. Before I go any further, somebody in the last update mentioned what happened to the ding ding music, so I've put it back and let's see what the reaction is. So the first thing to let you know is I've had to shuffle around my priorities, because some time ago I went out to Essex, where Wanda used to be, and picked up my engine, and Rob has done an absolutely fantastic job of painting it. So here it is. All of the hoses and everything are off, and so basically now I need to get it into Wanda. Now the problem is I'm not really ready to fit the engine in properly, well, permanently at least. So what I'm going to do is set up the engine mounts, and then I can get the engine lifted up. And then what I think I'll do is set up, I've bought a ratchet winch, so I can drop it down, drop the engine down, and then I can set up a beam over the top with my ratchet winch, so I can then lift it up and drop it down and lift it up and drop it down, because of course I've got that stern tube to fit. I've got to try and realign all of that, and that will take some time. So yeah, get the engine in so it's out of the way here, and then set it properly later on. Well, the first thing you might notice is I've painted my fuel tank. So I used this particular bilge paint simply because it just seemed to be one of the best priced out there, and to be honest, there was just so many different types of bilge paints, it was a bit confusing. Anyway, I bought this one. It's a 2-pack epoxy, and yeah, it seems to have done okay. And then of course I've got the neoprene there, and on the front as well I've taken the fittings out. I'll drop them in when it's in the bilge, and then there's the bilge, lovely brand spanking new, painted with bilge paint, ready to take the tank, and then the engine on top. One of the things that I've never really liked about the 352 is that there's all this space back here. Like, you can really use this for a lot of things, but once the engine's positioned and it comes up to about here, all of this space becomes inaccessible, and it's actually really confusing, because back here there were 2 through holes, really important ones. There's a seacock for the bilge, and there's a seacock for the deck scuppers. So if you ever needed an emergency to get to those seacocks, I just don't know how you get to them unless you can really climb up and over the engine through here. You'd have to be a complete contortionist. There's no easy way to get to them. So there's a couple of things I want to do. First of all, I want to have some inspection hatches in this lazarette, so you can climb into the lazarette, open it up, get your hand down there and get to the seacocks. And the second thing I want to do to this lazarette is create a hatch that I can climb through, so that I can come down this side of the engine and this side and work in this space here. Now, biggest problem is this is quite low. Can't really use it properly. So what I'm thinking is cutting this out, raising it maybe 150 mil. Okay, so I lose a little bit of the lazarette, but it's massive anyway, it's a real cavern, so that I can pop down here and have all these systems in place, like all the plumbing, the heating, can be sort of on this bulkhead, and I can come down here, and then I might even seal this up so that the engine, which sits here, is in a completely soundproofed engine box, and all of this over here is separate. First thing to do is to cut out the hatch size for all the hatches I can buy, to see if I can get the right size to come down here, because all of the inspection hatches that I'm looking at, they're really not quite big enough if I can't get one big enough, then I'm going to have to make my own, but I was hoping I could just buy one. So I'm just going to go out and position where I think the hat should go, cut it out, see if I can come through, and then if that's all good, then I can mark that out for my reference. And then from the top, cut this out, cut this whole piece out and replace it. I won't go all the way back because there's no point using that back part against the shell of the hull. So I might have a two-step, so it comes up here and then down and then back again. It's a bit of a pain in the ass, but I think it's going to be absolutely worth it at the end of the day. And it's not a small job either, as you can imagine. So I've cut out this cutaway just to see what it would feel like, and I think I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. And it's worked really well because what I've discovered is just having this much space, I can actually get down here like this, and I don't really need to raise this any higher because if all my systems are here like pumps and on the other bulkhead and the engine is here, I think this will be fine. And the timber is actually still in very good nick. It's not been compromised in any way, and I could probably leave it in here, but I'm going to replace it anyway just because it's going to be easier to work on this in a workshop than to try and do it in situ. So now I can just get to work. I've got my rough measurement here on how big it needs to be, so now I can just get to work to cut this out. And I'll leave this piece here and I'll make a butt join back here. Cool. Well, I'm at the end of my day and it's actually got quite hot here, so let's have a look. I've been sat in this space for maybe 40 minutes just daydreaming, looking up and thinking and pondering, and yeah. Excuse me, bit of dust here. I'm so easily distracted, that's the biggest problem when I come down here. But anyway, let's take a look. So there's a couple of residual pieces of timber here, but that's basically where the lazarette floor was, and now I've got this big nice hole all the way up to the lazarette opening, so I can rebuild this with a nice big hatch here so that I can climb down into this section. And under here I've got all this space for, you know, plumbing and water heating and whatever else I need here. Lots of room here. Now initially I was going to cut the floor to about here and leave that end part because the timber was quite good. It was in reasonable condition, so that was the original plan, to leave that and reuse it rather than cutting everything out. But fortunately I did cut it all out because what I discovered back here was the marine ply has delaminated, and so the tabbing here, very, very important to tab that bulkhead on, is just gripped onto the outer layer, which has come off. So if you hear this, that's all dull. So this is good. And then it comes good about up there again. So this is all rubbish. So it's good that I did take this off because, you know, if I left this part here, imagine trying to get back here in this tiny cramped spot with a grinder to get that part. So at least I can work on this now, and I've discovered it because I might not have discovered that, and it is quite bad because this is a significant bulkhead and it needs to be really well bonded in. So the upshot of this and the bad news is tomorrow, which is Sunday, I'll come back and it's going to be a dirty job because I need to hopefully tent up this, like put some plastic here and cover over that lazarette opening with some plastic, and try and lock this room up so I can get in here with the grinder and just get to work. Well, it's a bit of a drag, so yeah, I'm not overly looking forward to coming back with the grinder tomorrow. It's been a long time since I've done any dirty jobs, but yeah, it's good. You know, ultimately I'll get this room done with the floor, put the floor back, I'll have a hatch here, and then I can get the engine here, and I'll always be able to come back through this hole and come into this side and work away. So I've completely removed the dependency on the engine being the last thing in. Now the engine can come in at whatever stage it has to, and I can still work on the rest of this part of the boat. Okay, well I finished this. I had a good day's grinding, and I brought all this back to bare wood and cut out that that piece of timber that was providing the support. So all ready to put in a new piece. I've come back to here. The only problem is that I've discovered is this part back here that had the bulkhead delaminating, is I just can't get back to good timber, and yeah, this is no good. I can't use this, so I'm gonna have to cut this out. The bigger problem that I've got is the other side of that bulkhead is behind all of this unit, and I've had a look at this before. This is the fridge. It seems to be that there's the sort of fridge mold that's down here, and then there's just foam sprayed in all around it to keep it in place. So I didn't want to have to touch that, but I'm going to have to rip all this out to get to the other side of that bulkhead, because this is a really important critical structural member, and so I need to cut out all that timber that's deteriorated and scarf in a new piece. Yeah, which is not something that I was bargaining for. Well, I didn't really want to do this just yet, but I had to in the end. So I've pulled this section apart, and basically here's the fridge. It's sitting on this lip, and then there was a sealant, and the lid was then sort of sealed down, and obviously the water's got in this seal, and this is all rubbish back here. And I think that's why this bulkhead's been compromised, not because of water coming down, but from water coming back from here, from this refrigerator, because it's sort of the wet line really coincides with the level of this seal. Okay, a bit of brute force, and it's come out, because of course it was just sticking to all of this foam, but coming from this side I was able to give it a good push, and out it's come. So that's great, because at least I can take this home now and make up the template. I'm going to end this update here, I think, because yeah, I'd rather do smaller, more frequent updates rather than let it build up like last time and lose all my videos. So thanks for watching. I'm going to next work on this piece of bulkhead in my garage, and come back in a couple of weeks, get the rest of that mucky old fridge out so that I can clean up the tabbing on both sides, and then scarf in the new piece and laminate it in. Okay, I'll see you then. Bye.